October 9th, 2025. Just a quick recap of what I saw on the day to begin the day and what I took. We're looking at a 2000 tick chart on NQ. A lot of traders who look at auction market theory or like AMT based principles ignore the overnight value area. They don't put any weight to it. I like to see where it is because sometimes it can provide a base to trade off of. What I noticed is that it was above the prior day value area. So what I looked for once we started getting this selling pressure in the morning is a potential rejection of the overnight value area. You can see really clearly that there's this really nice push down and then retest of the value area, and then a subsequent push down. So when I saw that happening, I liked the trade and I jumped in. You can see where I jumped in, but I didn't jump in blindly. If you, print a volume profile up to that point, let's say, you can see how price was in this high volume node, shifted into this one, retraced, tried to make its way back into the top one, and was met by this low volume node. If you just let me just kind of print a line or a rectangle over that area. Let's just get rid of this for now. So you can see it moved into the low volume node and was rejected. Again, I didn't trade blindly into that. I waited for a couple of confirmations, namely some absorption, and we get stacked imbalances. No, and then some big trades. I think I've said this before. These big trades without context, you can see they happen all over the place. But when you see them at a point of interest, like a low volume node, it's interesting, especially if it's in the right direction, right? So we got all this absorption, some big trades coming in at our low volume node. And what else happened? Was it this? Yeah, you can see that this was price actually tried to make its way back into the VWAP bands and was rejected from there. Was rejected at the first deviation of the first lower deviation of VWAP. That's typically when price trends, it tends to stay outside of the first deviation. So that's what happened. Now, what I tried to do differently on this particular trade, turn off all this stuff, was I tried to manage the trade a little bit better and use my outsourced trailing methodology, which is just basically to follow the 8 EMA. And the market basically gave my trade management plan the finger because it retraced down, hit the value area high, retraced a little bit further, and I thought, man, maybe we can just go right to the point of control. And I held on to it. At one point, I think I was up 303. Yeah, I was up 50 points. And then it kind of retraced above here, and I closed as soon as it broke above the 8 EMA. So I gave back a lot of profit on this one. Annoyed with everything, that I gave back so much profit. I basically should have just, taken some kind of partial or whatever the case is at the value area high over here. I got back in when I saw this happen, and this was a bear flag. Yeah. So this was a bear flag right into VWAP, right into the same low volume node. Massive trades come in right over here. But, this happened so quickly. I jumped in when I saw this action. Ideally, I would have gotten in a little bit higher up, and I think I would have probably held the trade for a little bit longer. Let me get rid of the ADMA. It flushed down real quick, and by the time I jumped in, I'm like, oh, my risk on this is all messed up. And it just flushed once, and I closed the trade because in my mind, like my trade was late, and I didn't want to risk this kind of half winner that I got on the day, and I ended up winning. So it ended up working out. what I should have done is I should have said to myself, bear flags in the VWAP very often make a new low, and that's exactly what happened, right? So bear flag into VWAP. I probably just could have set the take profit to the same low or just above to be a bit more conservative, and I would have eked out, I don't know, another 20 points. But all in all, my reads on the day were really solid. I'm really happy with that. Again, what I'm not happy about is my trade management, and I guess like my anxiety when it comes to being in profit and not want to give back profits. I need to, again, I don't know, work on the psychology of it, but the overall reads, like I said, are pretty good. You know, I've said this before, but the anchor of this entire system is basically just looking at the looking at the value areas that you can see through this whole methodology of auction market theory. So that's the framework, and then using order flow to spot absorption and big trades that sort of guide the execution process. And sorry, the anchor of the execution process is actually the retracements into these low volume nodes that are visible when you're obviously when you're printing the volume profile. Anyway, long story short, I'm happy with today. Again, you know, was it a perfect day in terms of trade management and all that stuff? No, near perfect when it comes to like market analysis and gauging temperature, not temperature, but gauging pressure and all that stuff. But anyway, lots of work to do. Wasn't a perfect day, but I eked out a couple of wins and green on the day. Take it easy.